Well, in just the first few days of the Minnesota Paid Leave Program portal going live, 18,000 Minnesotans have applied through the state website with 3,500 submissions approved so far. The new program allows Minnesotans to take up to 12 weeks of paid time off for things like medical care, military family leave, caring for a loved one, and safety.
And supporters of the new program tout a workers' ability to balance work and family needs. Opponents worry about the cost to them and potential fraud.
Northern News Now's Kyrie Johnson spent the day talking to small businesses in Canal Park, and she joins us live in studio tonight to share how these employers feel about it. Kyrie?
Yeah, Lauren, Dan, the Paid Leave Act has created a program meant to help employees take time off for illness, caregiving, or parental leave without losing pay. It's a benefit that has created a big buzz this year, and for most local businesses I spoke with, they're looking forward to it.
It's kind of a way to easily pay for these kind of liabilities, you know, that otherwise kind of leave you in the lurch.
Many small employers, like those at Northern Waters Smokehouse, tell me preserving experienced staff is a priority, even if it means finding new ways to cover time off. Some businesses say they've been offering paid leave for staff without assistance from this new state program for years.
In the past, we've actually just paid people when they didn't have PTO and sick time to recover so that they could come back to us intact. So for us as a business, this is actually a way cheaper way to pay for something like that.
But those who have voiced concerns about the paid leave program point to the size of the contribution required under the act. For 2026, the percentage of an employee's wages that will be collected by the state from employers is 0.88%.
Because this is a program that is funded both by the employer and the employee. So a pro of it is it's a shared cost model.
Matt Baumgartner, president of the Duluth Chamber of Commerce, says many businesses in the Northland have expressed the program may strain payroll margins that are already razor thin. Additionally, the challenge of replacing an employee for up to 12 weeks and then bringing them back could be a major upfront disruption to small business employers.
The idea of paid family medical leave is one that is, universally supported. Implementing it is incredibly challenging for businesses, and it's kind of one more straw on the back of the business camel that makes it difficult.
Baumgartner adds that while many people feel paid leave is a positive thing, many of them, including businesses, would have liked an option to either opt in or out of the program, depending on their personal circumstances. Live in studio, Kyrie Johnson, Northern News Now.